Pokemon's not good. At least for a while, from what I've seen. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying early Pokemon is bad. Black and White, Diamond, Pearl, I'm sure they're great. I've just never played them. But you know what I have played? Every Pokemon game since X and Y. In fact, it was specifically these games. Now, if we cut off the spin-offs, it's still a pretty big list. I've not had fun with any of these games. You know, 8-year-old me is not a great virtue of taste. He has played the shit out of a halfway completed copy of Disney Friends and nothing more because he could not figure out how to finish it. Yet he still chose this game over Pokemon X. Fun fact, Pokemon X is the first game I got disillusioned about video games. I would play loads of video games and every time I would just think, damn, this portal into an entirely different world is sick. But playing this game, I just realized that I was the only real person in the game. The only living being in existence. Not only did pretty much every area feel the same except for the different trees and ground, every fight felt exactly the same. The cities felt more dead than the routes, and it felt more like a chore list than anything else. Now, is this worse than Disney Friends? There's a lot more I don't like about this game, but we will get into this later. At least this one had a good story. Other than that, was it just me, or did this game feel exactly the same? The unique gimmick being the Ultra Beasts, which are just legendary Pokemon. That's it. I don't know what to say. They are just legendary Pokemon. I don't care what you tell me. Other than that, I just feel like I was playing the exact same game again. It's Pokemon Red. It's a classic, except they removed 90% of the game. I'm not sure who this game is for. Maybe my grandma? It's a cute walking simulator that interrupts you every few minutes. I'll give it that. Hey, you know what? This one was somewhat interesting. I'll give it that. Am I biased towards this game because Toby Fox made one song? Yes, I would not have played this game if it were not for that. Doesn't make it good. Please refer to the title. Either way, mildly unique gameplay with a big focus on open fields, which would be great if anything looked unique. Still, it's significantly better. This game feels like a world for the first time. I mean, barely. This should be the bare minimum, but it's better. It's pretty much exactly the same again. It's like they took advice from fans and just put it in. I mean, that's good, but it was also just put on top. There was no effort to put things together. There are now multiple storylines to follow, but they all just feel so boring. They're improving, but it's slow. Anyways, you might have noticed a pattern among these games, or at least my descriptions. They are the same goddamn game. There's no difference in them. The same boring gameplay, the same boring environments. The only interesting part of these games are the Pokemon designs. But you can get it from a book. How I'd say that's the best part of these games, the Pokédex. I love reading the world building each Pokemon provides. You never see that though. While improvements have been made to the world, I do not believe this world is alive. And you can fight me on that. Honestly, somehow X and Y are better because I don't have to pretend these dolls have any personality. Hey, wait, Banks, you skipped a game. I did skip a game, for emphasis. This is by far the best Pokemon game in the series. Not even a debate. Pokemon now interact with the environment. I know. And better yet, it feels like they're in a world rather than a fairy tale. These fights are actually interesting. You know, still not challenging, but interesting. I mean, actually, there was a single post-game fight I had a challenge with. We won't be getting into this one because they are a major spoiler. The boss fights were incredibly fun, comparatively speaking, and I felt as though I was in a Pokemon world. 6 out of 10. It's the best score I could give this game. It's an all-around improvement for a Pokemon game. Shitty graphics, some of the worst performance I've seen. Puzzle ranges from piss easy to convoluted nightmares, with no in-between. And the literal gameplay loop is do the same thing over and over again. Worse yet, it faces the major issues that all previous Pokemon games. Pokemon is a turn-based role-playing game. I'll admit, not my favorite. There's some I enjoy, but Pokemon does not scratch that itch. Honestly, a great framework I see real merit to. You have 6 Pokemon, 4 moves each. Basically 24 different moves, but you need to use a turn to get access to different moves. Not only that, but each group of moves has weaknesses and strengths. This is great. In fact, really interesting. I can imagine building a team to fight a big, fire-based Pokemon using special moves to make the battle more interesting. Having to swap out creatively between Pokemon to fight complex trainers. Too bad this isn't encouraged. Sure, you see this type of level at high-level competitive play, but the vast majority of gamers don't. I mean, seriously, I beat Pokemon X with just my starters swapped to them. How I'd say that would be my fault if it weren't for the fact it's not just the difficulty that created this, but the game itself seemingly discourages this behavior. When looking up unique moves for Pokemon, I found nothing. All moves manage to do one of two things, damage or status effects. The only major change is the types. There are a few exceptions, but I'll bring them up later. No, I'm not a Pokemon expert, so I may be wrong, but to me the only really unique aspects are abilities, aspects of Pokemon that changes the way battles work for them specifically. Ditto's copy ability, for example. Yeah, they're interesting. So what's the point of moves? Like, I need to emphasize, what the hell are special attacks? What's the point? It adds some arbitrary attack stack so that you have 2 more ways to buffer DOF. It emphasizes my points. Moves should work around a limited rule set, and not just the broad concept of battles. While the moves are interesting, it devolves battles to a complex game of rock, paper, scissors, and everything else surrounds this loop. I'm not gonna lie, it's a boring loop. I'm going to be crazy here, let's just remove types. They can still exist, but for this example we are going to ignore them. We are going to place the emphasis on the 6 Pokemon dynamics. Pokemon will be encouraged to synergize to make the most out of their abilities. Now base Pokemon have a few moves that do the same basic thing. They do bonus damage depending on a specific status effect on them. There, in my opinion, are pretty much the only interesting moves in the game. Let's put a focus on that. The first major change is if you have these attacks, you are not able to inflict said statuses. This, right off the bat, adds a major strategy element. Sure, these attacks are powerful, but they require 2 Pokemon minimum. Second, status stacking. In Pokemon, you either poisoned or you are not. Let's change this up. A Pokemon get affected by a status multiple times. Not only does this increase strategic practice, it also opens up brand new abilities. These are the basic changes. Let's create some new moves with this new rules in place. We could create hundreds of moves with these rules alone, but let's just focus on 3. Teach. Choose 1 Pokemon on your team. If they use a move, the current Pokemon's currently used effect is doubled. So for example, if your Charmander uses Tackle and they use the Teach ability on another Pokemon, their Tackle ability is doubled. This gives great strategy right off the bat. Sure, you can just use Tackle, but this has a lot of opportunities. Spontaneous Mitosis. Double the amount of poison the target has. This could be used for every status potentially, and it allows for a lot of synergy. Double Up. Same name as the battle type. Force both players to add an additional Pokemon to the field. Wild Pokemon do not add an extra. Now these are just 3 examples showcasing how synergies could be improved. To me, this fixes the battle system, allows for mindless strategy for kids, but encourages smart team composition. Now, there's more to Pokemon outside of battle, but strangely enough, I am optimistic. Legends was heading down the correct direction, and while they are a billion-dollar company and can spontaneously appear at the end of the road, I think they'll make it in time. I'd say that with a new Legend game coming out, it might just be a great game, outside of the combat. I'll admit Pokemon may be good. After all, 480 million units sold don't come from nowhere. I just don't get it. I don't understand it. I guess I'm not the target demographic, but I'm not sure who is. Now we are heading towards a new world of Pokemon with A to Z coming out, and just maybe it can get a new fan.